Hey, it's me, your guide of light, helping you through the night. Honestly, as I'm walking through it myself. And it's funny because I meet people, and I've talked about in another video, like how we trigger one another, right? So, say I was on the up and up, I was healing, and then I met somebody that was maybe not exactly on the same path, and I started talking to them. It's almost like they opened a new door of more healing for me that said, see, you've been ignoring this. And that's the thing about us as humans. We can push aside things that are almost detrimental to our mental health, our physical health, our awareness for ourselves. And I myself have been in denial, knowing the background of what I come from, addictions and struggling and abusive nature. And as each generation went on, they tried to break that which they did not like from their parents, which got it from their grandparents, breaking generational curses. So, like I said, I thought I was on almost like a plateau where I was like, okay, I'm doing good. Doesn't always come out that way, especially when you meet somebody that they're going through an addiction, and then they highlight the fact that you're going through the same thing. It's just not what they're doing. Like, someone can be addicted to sex, somebody can be addicted to drugs, somebody can be addicted to alcohol, others can be addicted to fear, others can be addicted to the failure or success, like fearing success. So when it comes down to it, we're in this toxic world where we have to battle these addictions. And even if you don't partake in the things that society says are okay, like the drinking and the partying and the promiscuity, things like that, and you're into street drugs or, things that are illegal, you might not do any of those things, but there's still something you're addicted to. Rather it be gossiping about others, creating animosity, addicted to drama and chaos and stressing yourself out because you want something to focus on rather than yourself. And that's the hardest part when you begin to focus on yourself. And I know that a lot of you are going through the same thing I'm going through. When you become self-aware, don't tear yourself up. Don't tell yourself that you're a failure, because you're not. You're human. You're going to struggle, and you're going to fight those demons and win some days, and other days you're just going to be like, I'm tired of fighting these demons. You can't live a life of an endless battle and expect to not get tired. Not just go, you know what? I give up today. Because just because you gave up today doesn't mean that you gave up yesterday or you're going to give up tomorrow. You still have the possibility to still make progress in your life. And that's the hardest part, when you're doing it alone and nobody's recognizing the fact that you are progressing, you are healing, you are changing for the better. But it's not like most people look at a plant and go, oh, look, it's growing. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of you for keeping it alive. Or we don't even tell the plant, you're doing a good job growing. It's almost like things aren't acknowledged unless they're bad or something someone's struggling through. For whatever reason, we highlight the negative and we brush the positive under the rug. Like, if you're already doing good, why do I need to encourage you? But that's asinine. That is like saying that you're doing good, you don't need the encouragement, knowing that if you don't continue to encourage that person, they're going to slip back. That backsliding. The backsliding is what brings you back to the battle when you were getting out of the battle. And it makes it hard because we all want encouragement. We all want to be acknowledged. We all want to have the notion that the world sees that we are improving ourselves. If you were to go to a construction site and they're building something and you weren't seeing progress, eventually it would just look like chaos. Like, what are they doing over there? They're blocking the roads, they're creating traffic, they're wasting money, they're wasting time, and they're not making any progress. But as you drive by and you're like, oh, I see what it's going to be now. It's going to be apartments, it's going to be stores, it's going to be convenience stores or residential areas. You see that progress, and then all of a sudden you're okay with the chaos that comes with that progression. But on the backside, when you're in the moment of your trying to heal, when nobody notices anything that you're going through, it almost invalidates what you're doing. And it makes it once again where you're just like, there's no point. What's the fucking point? Because it's really hard for a lot of us to live for ourselves, to understand that we're doing ourselves a favor, that we're healing our spirits, that we're healing our minds, that we're cutting ties with those toxic ways that have always held us back. Those things that don't let us dream, those things that don't let our dreams become a reality, those things that build barriers that make us just go, what's the point? Because the more you get to the barrier and there's no point in your mind, you stop doing what you're doing. You stop trying. So if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. If you're battling an addiction and you're physically battling it, it doesn't matter if you picked up your drug of choice today. Because you still have later on to go, I don't need it. And even if you only pushed it off once or twice that day, and you start creating space in between the times that you're doing the thing that holds you back, you're still making progress. And I know it's hard, especially because nobody will acknowledge you when you're in the crisis of your world falling apart, because you're battling demons and nobody sees those demons. If we could see these physical entities, like on Harry Potter, I'm assuming the whole world has seen Harry Potter, but where you have the, I don't know, they're not the Dementors, whatever they were, that were flying around in the air and you can see them physically sucking the life out of the individuals. Life would make more sense if we could see it as a reality, rather than understanding that these are invisible warfares going on within our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our souls, our ego, everything about us. And the more that you try to heal and move forward away from that ego, that thing that provokes you to want to sedate yourself so you don't feel, you don't think, you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, that thing that holds you back, that's the monster that wants to keep you in its grasp. And then when your spirit wants to arise, all of a sudden that's where that battle starts to occur. You deserve better than this. And then the ego tells you, no, you don't. You've done this for years. This is who you are. This is what you're always going to be. And spirit says, but you were so much more before you were that. Constant going back and forth, gets our gears flipping. But at some point, the key never turns, the ignition never starts, and you can never move forward. Because there's this stagnant energy going back and forth, the push and the pull, of making you try to figure out, should I, shouldn't I, will I, won't I, am I not? The more you try to figure out what you are, the harder it gets to unwind who you've been. And then at some point people become complacent and they accept the notion of where they're at and say, that's the best I'm going to get in life. And with that mindset, yes, that's the best you're going to get in life. Especially, like I said, when there's no one behind you going, come on, we can do this. We can do this together. Because very seldom will you find two addicts that will work together, that are both trying to heal, that will pull each other through that healing motion. It is very, very rare. And in these cases, these are twin flame soulmates. These are individuals that they mirror each other because they essentially are each other. They share the same energy. They share the same soul, in a sense. It's like Adam and Eve. There's something about certain individuals that will find that counterpart. And you can actually draw this counterpart to you, but you have to start healing. And they have to start healing as well. And oftentimes when one of them chooses to start healing, it triggers the other one, and they may not even know each other. And over time, the universe shifts things around so you can come into union with that other part of you. But that union is never complete until each individual is whole in themselves and they come together. Because if not, then you have a codependent relationship. That codependent relationship leads you where you start creating problems for each other. You're no longer healing. You become stagnant. because you're dependent on each other to make each other feel good. And that's not how life works. You have to be okay within yourself. But first, you have to accept the notion that there are things inside of you that have to change. And the one thing I'm realizing for myself is I'm not battling all of my demons at once. That is a point of exhaustion. I used to try, and it became a merry-go-round. Because like I've shared before, I come from a long line of alcoholics. I myself do smoke cigarettes. I partake with smoking weed at night. Used to be all day, every day. So that demon has been shrunken down. But when it comes to the alcohol, that's the one thing that will help me get out of my mind to not even feel that instant gratification anymore, but to just not care. But in a sense, that's dangerous, to get yourself to a place where you just don't care anymore. Because once again, there's nobody encouraging you. Most people are going to discourage you. Especially if you start healing beyond where they're at or where they've ever been in their life, that's when they start poking at your demon going, come out, come out. Prove to him or her they're not that good. Because people don't like to feel inferior. People don't like to feel as if somebody could do better than them. And I did not say be better than them, but could do better. Because especially when you're dealing with people that they don't have the courage to stand up and go, you know what? I have a problem. I need help. It's only when you ask those questions, and don't ask them to anyone around you, because either they're going to gossip about it, they might be there momentarily and then disappear, and then you relapse back into it. But who you call out to is Spirit, God, whoever it is you speak to, your angels, your guardians. Help me. Because this is a battle, invisible battle within yourself that, like I said, it's going to lead to exhaustion. It's going to lead to misunderstanding. It's going to lead to the feeling of failure. And when you get in that feeling of failure, it's very hard to come up out of that feeling of failure. And then you allow yourself to succumb to losing, giving up, saying, you know what? I'm trash. I've always been trash. I don't deserve anything better than what I'm getting at this point in my life. And I want everybody to understand you deserve so much more than what you're allowing yourself to believe that you deserve. And a lot of times it's because you don't have that support system. You don't have anyone to reach out to. And even if you go to things like AA or NA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, it doesn't mean that it will actually help you. Yes, you can be seen, heard, you can be in a room of like individuals. But a lot of times people are on that same path of being stuck in their own mind. And when these people unite with one another, it's almost like they trigger each other to keep having fun, to keep staying sedated. It's almost like walking in the lotus room and not realizing that's where you're at and being trapped. And I'm not saying don't partake in these programs. They are there with the intention of helping you. But it's really hard when you have a group of people that are all dealing with the same chaos. Because it's really hard for each of them to encourage one another. They're there to be able to have someone to relate to understand they're not alone in the process of what they're going through. Because yes, it is hard to, for one, be vulnerable and tell the truth. I've had to come to a point where I had to recognize the fact that I am a functioning alcoholic. Not to say that I drink every single day, but there's these binges that occur. And for the longest time, I thought that was okay, even though my body was giving me signals and warnings to go, hey, let's stop doing that. But I didn't see myself as my family was. So I didn't see myself as someone who struggled with abusing alcohol. But now that I can be truthful, it only came from the concept that somebody was truthful with me about what they face. And I had to go, well, hey, truth of the matter is, you don't know how deep my addiction goes. You don't know that Sure, I can go for a couple weeks and not touch it. And then I can go on a binge for 2 or 3 days and then put it away and not touch it. But the thing is that the demon, the monster, will momentarily take a break, almost like it goes on hiatus. Says, okay, you do you, I'll come back. And it doesn't mean that I call it in. It's just a trigger of any kind. It can be a bad day. It can be a good day. It can be a feeling of wanting to celebrate. It can be just moments of wanting to relax. Tired of fighting, whatever it is. Wanting to go out with friends and then overindulging. And then it's still becoming a cycle. And I've told you all multiple times, I'm here being raw and honest. And I give two shits less if you judge me. Because I know what I've been through. I know what I'm battling and I know what I'm going through. But I share with you in the sense that if you're going through it, understand you're human. You are still lovable. You still have great things to achieve in your life. But you got to be willing to stand up and admit the truth about who you are. And then when you can understand who you are, you can start going down that rabbit hole and figure out why. What started that? And yeah, it can be genetic. But at the same time, there's choices. So regardless if your mom or dad was a serial killer, and I know this is extreme, it does not mean you're going to be a serial killer. Because you have the choice. And it's the same with alcoholism, drugism, being over-sexual, whatever it is. Because there's a lot of things in life that we do struggle with, yes. And the thing is, we do it silently. But when someone finally gets the courage to stand up and go, hey, I'm not a success, but I'm not a failure. I'm on my in-between on my healing. When we can allow ourselves to be open like that, we can help people and never even realize that we are. So if you find the courage, please begin to be open and speak up and help start change people's lives around you. Because some people will fade away, yes, especially the ones you're meant to outgrow. But others will come in. And then that healing will flow into you. And you will get to a point to where you're happy. You're content. You don't need to sedate yourself or separate yourself from your mind because your spirit just can't make sense of why it's going through what it's going through. Because when you have that energetic energy inside of you, that spirit, that driving force, when the ego is the one in the seat, spirit's in the back like, you just hit that sign. That building's on fire and you're still taking me into it. Like it doesn't make sense. And then that's where you begin to separate more and more from spirit being the attachment to the higher level of power, the divine, God, Allah. Like I said, whatever you connect with. But ego is more of that demon that we just feed. So the more that we allow the demon to have full control of the vessel is where we start going through a crisis. Remember, dis-ease. Things begin to happen to our body because our ego doesn't care. Whereas spirit's over here like, hey, maybe we should look into that. So hopefully that's helpful to somebody. Like I said, I myself am having to come to terms with choices and telling the truth to myself and sharing that truth with you, hoping that it will help you to tell yourself the truth. So I'm going to leave it on that note and sending you hugs, kisses, loads of peace, love, and light, and hopefully the bravery to start the battle if you haven't, and to keep going through it if you have. And just know you're going to make it. We're all going to make it. There's really no other option. Talk to you later. Bye.